Hello, wildlifers. Hope you're all doing fine. We members of Rotary Fellowship of Wildlifers for Conservation share a common interest that is wildlife and its conservation, willing to work with the 120-year-old organization Rotary towards building a future in which people and nature thrive. To share a few notes about our fellowship group, we are a group of around 850 interested individuals, Rotarians, Rotractors, who have globally united around a common interest with the primary purpose to network and further friendship. Our purpose is to create awareness about importance of wildlife, to promote lasting friendships outside one's own club, district, and country, and to promote locally, regionally, and globally that conservation of living resources are important to humans and future generations to enjoy our natural world and the incredible species that live within it. Uh, Today, we have invited members of different Rotary clubs, Rotract clubs, and friends from Rotary from different parts of the world for this meeting. A hearty and a warm welcome to each one of you. Um, I would also like all of us here to remember Jane Goodall, who did such a wonderful contribution, who gave such a wonderful contribution for conservation of wildlife. Uh, we pray for her soul to rest in peace, and we would like more and more such people to contribute for wildlife conservation going forward. So, on behalf of wildlifers, I also extend a very warm welcome to our speaker, Rotarian Deepa Padmanabhan. Deepa Padmanabhan is an independent journalist and author writing on science, environment, biodiversity, wildlife, wildlife conservation, public health, and climate change. Her stories have been published in The Guardian, Harvard Public Health Magazine, Discover Magazine, Scientific American, National Geographic, Nikkei Asia, Mongabe, and others. She was awarded a special mention in the environmental impact category by the One World Media Awards, United Kingdom, in 2023. In her previous avatar, she worked as a biomedical researcher at the Indian Institute of Science, IISc, and Harvard University. She is the author of Rewilding India, the CWS Story, and Invisible Housemates. She is also a member of Rotary Bangalore Rajmahal Vilas and has been a Rotarian from the last 6 years. Welcome, Rotarian Deepa. Please take over from here.
Thank you, Sanjay, for that warm welcome and for the introduction. And good evening to all members of the Rotary Wildlife Group. So at the outset, I would just like to state that, unlike most of the previous speakers, I'm not a wildlife conservationist or, field person. I'm more of a writer. But I have written a lot on wildlife conservation and, human wildlife interactions. And I mean, many of you must be quite aware of the dynamic nature of these human wildlife interactions. As we all know that in certain parts, not just in India, I think that across the world, there are certain cultures that worship wildlife. We know that in Karnataka, there is the Huliappa, that is a tiger god that has been worshipped. And I don't know if any of you saw the recently released movie Kantara, where there is a depiction of this Huliappa. But at the same time, now we are seeing a lot of conflict with the tiger, and partly that is because of increase in tiger numbers thanks to Project Tiger, Project Elephant. We've had increase in populations of tigers and elephants, though not to the extent that was there many centuries ago, but partly because of conservation efforts and also because of anthropogenic impacts like deforestation and human impacts, human efforts. We are seeing human wildlife conflict. Similarly, sloth bear was another species that I came across that was, in this Chandi Mata temple in Chhattisgarh. Apparently, sloth bears are worshipped. But there is also now severe conflict with sloth bears in certain parts of the country, and it is studies have shown that the highest severity index is because of conflict with sloth bears. That apparently 60% of encounters with sloth bears result in human injuries. So, having written about these human wildlife interactions and human wildlife conflicts, I, started to think about, the flora and fauna that live in and around us in our homes and, in the cities. And although maybe some of them may not be categorized as wildlife, they are part of the, biodiversity. And not much is really written about them. The media focuses a lot on human wildlife conflict that happens in the forest with tigers and elephants. But in some way, we are also in conflict with these little creatures that live in our house and around our house. So that was kind of the seed of the idea that led me to write this book. So Rashmi, if we can have the first slide. So this book, I have focused on 13 creatures. And you'll see a pattern, as I talk about it. Some of these creatures have become very abundant around us, and they've been categorized as pests. And that is also largely due to human intervention, whether, it could be, some of it could be intentional, and a lot of it is actually unintentional, but it's still human intervention that has, caused them to be so abundant. And on the other hand, there are some that have declined in population, and again, it is because of, our own intervention. So we have the book is titled Invisible Housemates because we normally don't pay much attention to these creatures, and in fact, I think many times we even regard them as a kind of a nuisance. But I hope that after this presentation, and maybe some of you may like to pick up the book and read it. I might help maybe change your perspective a little bit. So next slide, Rashmi. So the house geckos actually are a very invasive species, and they are all over the globe now. Of course, we have different. You can read the slide. There are like 7,000 species of lizards, which include like many different species. But the house gecko is the one that became the most invasive because of traveling on ships during the trade routes, and they became so invasive that in many parts of the world they have actually caused a decline in the population of the native species. But like I spoke about Huliapa and the sloth bear that is worshipped. In a lot of cultures, there is some mythology about lizards and geckos as well. There is a story that in Tamil Nadu there is a temple where there are metallic lizards embedded on the ceiling inside the temple, and people go and they believe that touching those metallic lizards will help them cure their sins or get rid of illnesses. So similarly, there are other stories that are there in different cultures that signifies yeah, the importance of this lizard. And of course, they play a important role in ecology as well. We all know that lizards eat insects, and they eat mosquitoes. So in some way, they act as our pest controllers. Um, there's a fun fact I would like to show how lizards are actually helping in building some robots. So Rashmi, if you could click on the show the video. So scientists they studied, the tail of this of rock agama lizards, and they found that when no matter what the surface that the lizard is on, and if it is if it is slippery or it's yeah, there is some disturbance, the lizard can stabilize itself, and it is able to um, stabilize itself and land smoothly on the surface that it has to. So this is a video where a slow motion video of the lizard where they're showing different kind of disturbances to the lizard, and no matter what, the lizard lands on the surface. It's because of the stabilization of the tail. So they use this and they try to create a robot. Now here there is a robot that is which has a tail, but the tail is does not have the feedback that they have not incorporated the features of the lizard. So you see that the robot is kind of diving down and crashing. And now they have incorporated the features of the lizard tail where it is able to stabilize itself, and you can see that it doesn't nosedive, but it stabilizes itself and kind of lands smoothly. So that was just a fun fact about how lizards are being used in robotic designs. um so yeah, Rashmi, can we go to the next slide? And I'm not reading everything that is there on the slides. You can read about, there's some information about the history and number of species. So our next, the species is about pigeons. Pigeons are considered to be, the first animals to be domesticated. Actually, there is a Egyptian bas relief from 1350 BCE that shows pigeons being released from cages. So back then itself, pigeons were domesticated. And the image that you see on the screen, these are called as dovecotes or columbarium, which were used to breed and nest pigeons. And these 2,000-year-old structures were found in, Israel, Egypt, and many other countries in Europe. Now, the reason why they were domesticated is, many of you may know that pigeons have exceptional navigation abilities. So they were trained, and the skill was honed by humans back then, and they were used to send messages from one place to another. Now, there's an interesting story about a pigeon in the World War One, where there was a American. This happened in France, and the Americans were fighting the Germans in France, and one regiment of the American army was stuck between a German regiment and another American regiment, and the German regiment was firing at this particular regiment. And they wanted to let the other American regiment know that they are here so that it could be saved. So they used one of these messenger pigeons. The name was Shared Army, and they attached a note to its leg and they sent it off. The pigeon was unfortunately shot down by the Germans, but the pigeon was very, very strong willed, and despite being shot down, it managed to get up and it flew to the destination. And the message was delivered, and some 200 odd soldiers of the American regiment that were stuck behind the German army were saved. And this pigeon was honored with the highest honor of France. And there's also a book written about this shared army. So there are lots of such stories about pigeons being used as messengers, and even as I think Akbar had a lot of pigeons in his court, and they were trained to perform certain tricks. And there was a poet by the name Sayyid Muhammad Masawi during the Mughal era. He wrote illustrated pigeon manual with a lot of poems about pigeons, and it was called the Kabutar Nama. The Darwin, he referred to this Kabutar Nama when he was studying the genetics of various animals, and he was quite fascinated by pigeons, and he has referred to this Kabutar Nama in one of his books. So pigeons have been very closely associated with humans, as you can see. But over the years, when as human technology innovations, and we then moved away from pigeons as messengers to more modern technology, the pigeon lost its relevance, and so they were kind of abandoned. And now but they had adapted to living close to humans, so they did have easy access to food. In a lot of cultures, even in India, there are these pigeons are fed. Um, so we have this Kabootar Khana in Bombay, which is very famous, and even in London, also there's a at Trafalgar Square, pigeons are fed. So they have really proliferated, and now they were prized possessions, but now they are called rats of the sky. As many of you may know that it's in the news now that the pigeon excreta carry certain parasites that cause lung disease. So a lot of cities and countries around the world are now trying to see how they can manage the pigeon population. um, but nevertheless, the pigeon is a very intelligent bird, and they can recognize themselves in the mirror. The scientists have tried to train them to categorize tasks, like how the AI is being trained in a similar way. Pigeon racing is now becoming a quite active sport, and in India, Chennai is one of the thriving places where there is an active association with who are doing this pigeon racing. And also, there's a lot of mythology about pigeons. There are, in Hindu mythology, it is said that if a pigeon flies towards their home, it is considered inauspicious, and if the pigeon flies away from your home, it is considered auspicious. And that just made me wonder if back then, our ancient Hindus knew about, that pigeons could probably spread diseases, and if that was kind of incorporated in mythology. So yeah, that is just something to think about. Um, so, like I said, pigeons are trying, many cities in the world are trying to manage pigeons, and they were at one time tried to, they've been trying to eradicate them also in certain places. But now in certain countries, now they're trying to look at more humane management, where, they're trying to give them alternate breeding sites so that they're not, close to humans, or they are, there are certain nests that are made where the pigeon can lay eggs, but the eggs are then taken away so that the population doesn't increase. So yeah, can we move on to the next slide? Yeah, so here are just some fun trivia that there are fancy pigeons that are bred to be used in these shows, and the pigeon that you see on your right, that is a Maltese pigeon. This was termed as the sexiest pigeon of all times. So just some fun fact about pigeons there. Can we move on to the next slide? Yes. So, how many of you can guess what species this is? What do you think it is? You can unmute or chat. Any guesses?
Stink bugs.
No, no guesses from anyone.
Yeah,
Ah,
Meena, and yeah,
yes,
Chris say it's a cockroach.
cockroaches.
Yeah, and
Yes,
someone else said it's a beetle. Yeah.
yeah, cockroaches is the right answer. So the one on the left is the Indian domino cockroach, and the one on the right is the Mardi Gras cockroach, which is found in Australia. And both of these cockroaches are actually sold. Many people keep them as pets. The Indian domino cockroach is actually illegally traded because in India it's actually not allowed. So just to show that we normally think of cockroaches as something very yucky, and we don't like them and they find them very disgusting. But there are about 4,500 species of cockroaches. Can we move to the next slide, Rashmi? And out of those 4,500, there are only three that are actually the pest species that we find in our homes. That is the Oriental cockroach, the German cockroach, and the American cockroach. And again, most of these have become pests because, again, they travel with us on ships and other modes of transport, and they spread around across the world. So some interesting facts. The one on the top is Madagascar hissing cockroach. These are pretty big cockroaches, and they hiss quite loudly. These are also kept as pets. And there's an interesting story about these cockroaches being used in racing. In Australia, there were two patrons, two people who were sitting in a bar and they got drunk, and they started arguing about which city or which part of the town has the most fastest cockroaches. And apparently they just went out and picked up some cockroaches from the sewer, and they started a race to see which one is the fastest. But this kind of a silly game caught on, and it is now held. There's a cockroach racing game that is held across Australia. It is held on the Australia National Day, and there are even prizes given for the fastest cockroach. Another interesting trivia that in New Jersey, as you know, American elections are held every 4 years. So just prior to the election, a few months prior to the election, there's a cockroach racing to predict which candidate will win the election. So this Madagascar hissing cockroaches are taken, and there's a picture of the each president. The two main contenders are pasted on the cockroach, and the one that wins, it's believed that they have a good chance of winning. And history says that 70% of the time the race is correct, but I think last year it wasn't. Unfortunately, the Kamala Harris cockroach won the race, but she did not win the elections. So the picture on the right, that is a giant burrowing cockroach, which lives for a very long time, for 10 years. And unlike other cockroaches, this cockroach actually gives birth to its babies. And cockroaches, most of us, we kind of, don't really look at them twice and just want to get rid of them. But if you scientists have studied them, and they found that actually they're quite similar to us, in the sense that they are social creatures, and if they're isolated, they show signs of stress and depression, and their development slows down, which development is affected. Very, very similar to us as humans. And another interesting fact is about the German cockroaches that that are found in our homes. Uh, like many other insects, right? These cockroaches, they release pheromones which act like a chemical signature. It's like a chemical ID. Most other insects like ants and bees, normally they are able to recognize a different colony from their own colony. But here, these German cockroaches are so special, they can actually recognize their own siblings from the non-siblings in their own colony. And they do not mate with their siblings, which is quite a feat, because each cockroach has about 300 siblings. So yeah, it's just quite a fascinating fact about these cockroaches. Um, these pests, what we think are pest species in China, actually, they are being used as medicine, and in certain other cultures also. But in China, in a big way, there is a cockroach farming that is being done, where they are grown in a lab under very, very controlled and hygienic conditions, and then when they reach a certain size, they are harvested, and they are used as medicine. And the Chinese government claims that they have actually helped cure certain illnesses. Um, and like I said, each of these species has a very interesting, tale in mythology. There is a Aesop's fable, which is probably not well known. We all have, know about Aesop's fable, but there is stories about a cockroach, where this one cockroach lost its friend, which is a rabbit, to an eagle. The eagle, preyed on the rabbit, and the cockroach was very upset because it had lost its friend. So it decides to take revenge, and it goes and destroys the nest of the eagle. But the eagle manages to save its eggs, and it goes to Lord Zeus, who's a Greek god, and lays its eggs on Zeus's lap. But the cockroach, not to be, wants to make sure this revenge is complete. It goes and it deposits its dung on Zeus's lap, and Zeus, gets up, and the eggs of the eagle fall, and they are destroyed. So that's just a simple story to show that the cockroach, even though it's tiny, it can also be quite powerful if it wants to be. And as we all know, cockroaches have their role to play in ecology also. They help in break down organic matter and recycle nutrients. Um, Cockroaches are actually now being used in laboratories to study the effects of toxins. Because even though, you might seem that it's just a tiny thing and they are so different from us humans, at the cellular and molecular level, they are quite similar. So scientists are, they're putting toxins into these insects, and they are trying to see at the molecular level what is the effect, how does it impact them, and then they're trying to extrapolate that to as mammals and humans also. Another fun fact about how cockroaches are have inspired some robots. So Rashmi, if you can just play the video.
Even nature's most disgusting creatures have important secrets. But who would want a swarm of cockroaches coming towards them? But one of the greatest differences between natural and human technologies relates to robustness. Robust systems are stable in complex and new environments. Remarkably, cockroaches can self-stabilize running over rough terrain. When we put a jetpack on them or give them a perturbation like an earthquake, we discovered that their wonderfully tuned legs allow them to self-stabilize without using any of their brain power. They can go over complex terrain like grass, no problem, and not get destabilized. We discovered a new behavior where, because of their shape, they actually roll automatically to their side to go through this artificial testbed of grass. Robust systems can perform multiple tasks with the same structure. Here's a new behavior we discovered. The animals rapidly invert and disappear in less than 150 milliseconds. You never see them using the same structures that they use to run, their legs. They can run upside down very rapidly on rods, branches, and wires. And if you perturb one of those branches, they can do this. They can perform gymnastic maneuvers like no robot we have yet. And they have nearly unlimited maneuverability with that same structure and unprecedented access to a variety of different areas. They have wings for flying when they get warm, but they use those same wings to flip over if they get destabilized. Very effective. Robust systems are also fault-tolerant and fail-safe. This is the foot of a cockroach. It has spines and gluey pads and claws. But if you take off those feet, they can still go over rough terrain, like the bottom video that you see, without hardly slowing down. Extraordinary. They can run up mesh without their feet. Here's an animal using a normal alternating tripod, 3 legs, 3 legs, 3 legs. But in nature, the insects often have lost their legs. Here's one moving with 2 middle legs gone. You can even lose 3 legs and a tripod, and they adopt a new gait, a hopping gait. And I point out that all of these videos are slowed down 20 times. So they're actually really fast when you see this. Robust systems are also damage resistant. Here's an animal climbing up a wall. It looks like a rapid, smooth, vertical climb. But when you slow it down, you see something very different. Here's what they do. They intentionally have a head-on collision with the wall so they don't slow down and can transition up it in 75 milliseconds. And they can do this in part because they have extraordinary exoskeletons. And they're really just...
Yeah, so a lot of great things about cockroaches, and for time I've stopped the video, but they have actually developed robots, studying the cockroach movement, and these robots, they can go over any surface, And at some point, they think that they can use this, in search and rescue operations in earthquakes and other disasters where it's very hard to kind of reach humans that are stuck on the debris, and they feel that these robots, cockroach-inspired robots, may be able to do the job. So can you move to the next slide? So sparrows. How many of you know that sparrows were once considered as pests? Did you all know that? So now we know that sparrows have actually declined in numbers. So sparrows actually adapted to living with humans about 11,000 years ago, when humans shifted from hunting to agriculture. And this access to grain and seeds is what helped them to proliferate across the world, and so they adapted to living with human beings. But they were viewed as a pest in 16th century UK and Europe. And many of these cities and countries, they tried to eliminate the bird because they felt that it was causing a lot of damage to agriculture. They came up with some very innovative techniques. They created a ceramic pot. They called it a sparrow pot. They hung it, near their houses, and when the sparrow would come to roost there, they would either take the eggs and use the eggs, or many times they would even take the sparrow itself and use it in cooking. And back then, some of you may have heard, sparrow pie was a very common peasant dish. And in UK, there were in fact even rewards for hunting sparrows. The famous case of Chairman Mao in China, he decreed sparrows as pests, and he said that they should be eliminated. So thousands and thousands of sparrows were killed. But soon after, there was the Great Famine. And then the scientists realized that the sparrows were actually feeding on the worms that that damaged the crops, and the damage caused by these worms was far greater than the damage caused by the sparrows. So then Chairman Mao, he backtracked and he said, okay, we need to stop killing sparrows and we should try and bring them back. Unfortunately, now we have seen that sparrow populations have declined drastically. In India, they've come down by 70%. And even in Europe also, sparrow populations have declined drastically. But sparrows, a fun fact is that, they have unique personality. Some scientists have studied the sparrows, and they found that, to us, they all look alike and they all chirp in the same way. But actually, some are like, very passive birds, some are very curious, and some are anxious like us. And of course, they all have a role to play in ecology, in seed dispersal, and they control insect population. So hopefully, through some efforts now are being made to bring back the sparrow, and we'll be able to see more of the birds, the sparrow in the future. So next slide. So squirrels are another species that have had a very dynamic relationship with us humans. We've not so much in India, I would say, but of course, we all know the Indian palm squirrel has its mythology with the Ramayana, and um but in UK and in America, the gray squirrel, which was native to US, at one point it was very, very abundant. And they started to decline though due to deforestation. And they were then reintroduced because they felt that they were not able to see the squirrels again. So they were reintroduced in 1870. But then again, they became abundant, and there are attempts that are being made to control the gray squirrel. Similar trajectory in the UK. The red squirrel is actually native to UK, but the grey squirrel was introduced to UK around 1870s. And the grey squirrel then became kind of invasive, and it led to the decline of the red squirrel. So a lot of native Britishers were very upset about it, and they said that we need to try and control the grey squirrel population, and they came up with a campaign called "Save a Red, Eat a Grey." which basically meant that, they would hunt the gray squirrels and eat them. But squirrels have, again, some fun fact about squirrels that they can bury up to 3,000 nuts in one season. As you all know, that as winter approaches, they start burying nuts, and they have impressive memories. They can remember up to 24 locations where they have buried these nuts for up to 2 months, and they can retrieve them. Squirrels are also very playful. I'm sure you might have all observed how they play with each other up and down the trees. Another fun fact is that in US there was a celebrity squirrel. There was a squirrel, gray squirrel, that was adopted by an American family. It was called his name Tommy Tucker, and Tommy Tucker apparently had like some 30 costumes stitched for different occasions, and Tommy Tucker was even featured in Time magazine. So, but we do have, in India, the Indian palm squirrel, and we have certain giant squirrels and flying squirrels, which are rare and endangered. And I believe that their populations are, in decline. Even in Bangalore, is my observation that the squirrel population has declined, but there has not been much study about it. And I hope that scientists will at some point will do some study. Again, it's because of development and cutting down of trees that there's been a decline in the squirrel population. So can we move to the next slide? Rats. So rats are, yeah, again, another very species that are not really liked by a lot of people, and they cause a lot of disgusting feelings. But the truth is that out of the 56 species, there are actually very few that are really harmful to us. That is the brown rat and the black rat, which are commonly seen in our cities. The brown rat originated in China, and the black rat originated in Indian subcontinent, and again they spread through trade routes on ships, and they're spread across the world. But once upon a time, in well, I shouldn't say once upon a time. This is actually mythology in Greek, Rome, and Japan mythology. Rats were actually associated with prosperity, and they were associated with certain gods, and they had a good reputation. Not so much nowadays, because we all want to, because of certain of these pest species that they carry diseases, and we want to eliminate them. So we don't quite like rats, but scientists have studied, the rats, the personality of rats, and there's one interesting study which found that rats have empathy towards their fellow rats. The study where they paired two rats together, and they let them kind of bond for some time, and then the rats were separated, and one was kept in a cage and the other was allowed to be free. And there was a lever where where the free cat could actually try to free the to open the cage where the other rat was caged, and they would always try to free that the rat which was in the cage. And the scientists, they tried to bribe the rats, with some chocolate and some food, so that they would, to deter them from freeing the rat. But the rats actually chose not to take the food, and they always chose to free their fellow rats over the food, which I think is, we cannot say probably the same of many humans. So rats, of course, they've been used a lot in research, and some of us maybe, I mean, I was a researcher, and there were rats that were used in laboratories. Again, they have come up, there's a lot of information that has come from studying rats and continue to be, I think, studied and researched. Some fun facts is that there are also fancy rats that are bred, and apparently right from the 1600s in Japan and China, some of these fancy rats were bred. There was a manual about how to breed these fancy rats. And now in America, there's an American Fancy Rat and Mouse Association, which where they have these competitions, and each rat is judged based on their fur color and the texture of the fur. And rats are also part of the socio-cultural fabric in certain tribes. You might have heard of the Irula tribe in South India, where they are hired to, hunt rats, and they have found that the rats, these are field rats, and they make burrows, and they store the grain in these burrows. And they found that the grain that is retrieved, the areolas, but they retrieve this grain from the burrows of the rats. They're actually quite sweet, and so they say the rice they use it to make desserts because of the sweet texture. And similarly, they found the peanuts also are a lot more sweeter and creamier, that are found in these rat burrows. But yeah, rats also have a role to play in ecology. They are part of the food chain, and they enhance the soil aeration by burrowing. But of course, many cities across the world are trying to manage the rat population. In Bombay, there is a squad of municipal workers that goes around the city at night trying to kill rats. In Chicago, they have let out about 1,000 sterilized cats to kill the rat population. But Paris is now looking at a concept called as cohabitation, because they believe that no matter how much you try to kill rats, it's not going to help, and it's not a humane way either. So their approach is that we humans need to basically keep our surroundings clean. If we manage our waste well, and keep our surroundings hygienic, then the rats will not have access to food, and organically their populations will come down. So it remains to be seen if they are successful. But yeah, I think it's an interesting approach. Can we go to the next slide? So frogs. Someone told me, why did you include frogs? Because it seems a bit off. But when I moved to Bangalore in the early 1990s, actually, in where I live, there were a lot of frogs in my area. And in fact, studies have shown that in Bangalore, the frogs that you see on the picture are actually frogs found in Bangalore from 1999. There were 16 species of frogs in Bangalore, and some 30 something species from in Pune, and several other cities which have all kind of now declined. There are some interesting characteristics of frogs. There is a wood frog, which can endure weeks of freezing. There's a glass frog, which is like completely transparent. You can actually see, each and every organ within its body from outside. They were the first creatures to develop vocal cords, and like rats, frogs also have been employed a lot in research. In fact, we know now about stem cells, but they were first developed in frogs, frog cells that were programmed to develop stem cells, and the scientists who did that, they won the Nobel Prize for Physiology. Um, Another interesting fact is that African clawed frogs were actually used to test for pregnancy between the 1930s and 1960s. Today, it's very simple test. You can just buy it off the shelf, from a medical store. But back then, it was not that common. And even getting these clawed frogs, which was not easy. So only it was if a lady had to like really know that she's pregnant, only then she could ask for this test, and it had to be done through a doctor. Like the doctor had to prescribe that she has to get a pregnancy test, and then they would mail a urine sample to these labs, and they would test it on these African clawed frogs. In India, of course, the Western Ghats are, our hotspot for frog species, and every year we are new species that are being discovered. There is also some belief that, you know, marrying frogs will bring rain, and in some villages they're actually doing this. Also, the rivers, I came across a story where it rained, when they did this marriage, and it rained so hard for days that the villagers then they said that we need to now divorce the frogs so that it stops raining. But jokes aside, frogs are one of the most vulnerable species to climate change, and we are seeing a drastic reduction in their numbers. There are some frog species that are very close to extinction, and of course, climate change, as you all know, is anthropogenic. So I guess we have to, be mindful of our, carbon footprint. to make sure that we don't endanger these animals anymore. So coming to the next slide, Rashmi. So monkeys are again, I think in the last few decades we are seeing monkeys that are we finding them in the cities that these were once in the forest, but now because of deforestation, we are having a bit of conflict with monkeys. Um, some again history about the rhesus macaques, especially that they were once very abundant in India, and they were scientists found that because they are very closely related to us, so they could be a very useful model to study for medicine and research. So they were shipped in thousands from India to US and other countries. And of course, the polio vaccine was discovered thanks to the research that was done on monkeys. But there was also a rumor that the monkeys that were exported from here are being used not just for medical research, but for the development of some biological weapons. This was around the late 1970s. And there were also some reports at that time that the rhesus macaque population is declining in India. So, the export of monkey was then banned. Of course, monkeys are still used in research, but now there are strict guidelines that they cannot be caught from a forest and sent, that they have to be bred specifically for research purposes. Some fun fact about again research about the rhesus monkeys, that in 1959 there was a space mission in which a rhesus monkey and a squirrel monkey, they had a 15-minute journey into space, and this was done to basically see if they are able to withstand the pressures of space. And they both yeah, the names were Abel and Miss Baker. They became kind of celebrities, and they went around touring US after their successful journey into space. A lot of scientists have also studied the behavior of monkeys, and S.T. Singh was one who studied how urban monkeys and forest monkeys, they differ from each other. And we found that the urban monkeys are very curious, but they're a little bit more aggressive than the forest monkeys, which tend to be a little bit calmer. But both were very, very smart, and they were able to solve puzzles, and they were quite smart. So yeah, I've already talked about this deforestation that is leading to conflict in cities. And in 2007 in Delhi, there was an incident that happened where the deputy mayor died because because of an attack by monkeys. And the Delhi government then decided that they were going to collect all the monkeys and put them into one park, and they put like high fences. But of course, the monkeys were too smart, and they were able to jump off, and they were packed in the cities. So that to keep them inside, the Delhi government, they started uh, they would buy fruits and vegetables and feed them, and they had spent crores of rupees to do that. But I think they've been mostly unsuccessful. Another yeah, thing about monkeys is that many of them are illegally traded as pets and other purposes. So again, there's risk that monkey populations will be declining because of again our human intervention. Can you go to the next slide, please? So crows, again, these are species that are not looked upon so favorably as sparrows or pigeons they were in the past, right? I mean, most of us, we don't pay much attention to crows, but they are actually very intelligent species. And we've all heard the story of the crow putting the stone in a jug of water to get the water out. And scientists have studied crows, and they have found that they can make tools, which is I think quite unique for a bird. There was David Attenborough, actually, he observed that in I think it was in Japan, where these crows, they make use of vehicles to, crack walnuts. He found that these crows would wait with the walnut at the traffic light, and they would just throw the walnut on the road, and the cars would go over them and crack them open. And when the traffic light turns red and the vehicles stop, these crows would walk there and pick up the walnut, eat it up, and fly away. So this shows how intelligent they are. Crows can associate, they can remember a human face that they associate with danger. There was a study done where some scientists, some researchers, they wore a mask, like a scary looking mask, and they went and captured some crows from the area. And after some time, they released those crows. And what they found is that every time they walked out with the mask, those crows would start kind of scolding them and like cawing at them very harshly. And after some time, it was not only the crows that were captured, but even the other crows that were not captured started, shouting at them and scolding them, because then the crows had passed down the message that alerted all the other crows that, this person is dangerous and, you have to stay away from them. Again, in mythology, there are, in India, we do have, in Hinduism, crow is associated with the death ritual. And interestingly, there are stories or in other religions as well, in Islam and Judaism. There is this association with death. And I don't know if that is probably one reason why, again, crows are not uh, favored as much. But yeah, I mean, crows again, this is again my observation. I feel that crows are kind of declined. And, maybe we should just be more mindful about how we are treating, cutting down trees so that, we don't lose this intelligent species. Next slide, please. Yeah, ants. So ants, I'm sure all of us have ants in our homes, and we have tried several times to try and get rid of them. But they are, I think, one of the most amazing species. I mean, several scientists who have studied them would know that, first of all, we have a diverse species of ants. There are like 22,000 species. And the those that live in forests, there's some amazing species. The ones that are become very invasive, one of them is called the fire ant, which is the fifth most costly invasive species, which have caused a lot of damage to crops. Even as recent as 2022, fire ants were actually found for the first time in Sicily and Europe, and this has caused quite a lot of worry there, and scientists are worrying that the fire ants will spread across Europe and cause damage. However, in India, there's a tribe in Bastar that actually don't consider them as pests, but they use the fire ants to cure malaria. Um, on the other hand, in Tamil Nadu, there's a ant called as a crazy yellow ant, which has become very invasive and caused a lot of damage to the farmers there, and also they've also apparently caused a lot of injuries to their livestock, and this is something that the farmers are very worried about. Argentina ants are another ants that are very, very invasive. In fact, back in 1927, Italy enacted a law to combat the invasion of Argentina ants. And these ants, they can form like super colonies. There was a colony found along the Mediterranean coast, which was like 6,000 square kilometer long. It was like one single colony of these Argentina ants. And ants are also very, they are quite amazing. Scientists have found that they can perform, surgeries. They can perform limb amputations on injured ants, when injured fellow ants. When they see that, if there's a limb that is badly damaged and there is no chance of recovery, they will actually bite that limb off, and it's like an amputation. They also farm fungi, and there are some species of ants that engage in warfare, and they have like very, very strategic um, they have very the warfare they have like almost like humans, they strategize, and they have these minor ants which are put in the front, which are weaker than some of the other ants, but because of their numbers, they are at the front line. And then they have uh, the more significant ants, which are called the major ants, at the in the middle. So they have some very, very significant warfare strategies. Another fun fact is the bullet ant, where it has been found that it has the most painful sting in the entire insect kingdom. There is a person called Schmid who categorized these pain index, and this 1 to 4 is the index, and these bullet ants have got the pain index of 4. There is a story about an Amazon tribe where they have a coming of age ritual for boys, where they have to wear gloves which are filled with these bullet ants, and they're basically the ones who are able to tolerate the sting for the longest time, or for a certain amount of time. They are considered to be have like come of age, or that ritual is very significant for them. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah, so bees, as we all know, right now we are losing bees, and they have a very important role in pollination. Um, but bees again have been associated with humans for a very, very long time. There was a 40,000-year-old spear that was found, that was secured to its shaft with beeswax. So it's possible that back then itself, humans were making use of bees and using beeswax and using their honey. Organized beekeeping started like in 9th century BCE. And of course, since then, we have been using bees to source honey. Um, and But it was not until the 17th century that there's a Dutch biologist who actually discovered that the ruler of the bee colony is a queen. Until then, a lot of people, even rulers and some literary figures, they refer to the ruler of the bee, they use male terms. So it was only in the 17th century that they found out that the ruler is a queen, though, even before that, people were, had domesticated bees and they were using them, but they did not know this fact. A lot of scientists have been studying bees, and they find that they can be trained to pull a string for reward. They can play with balls. They can be trained to count. And some scientists also claim that they can feel pain, and they are very self-aware. So there is a debate in Europe, especially about bees and some other creatures like that, that they are sentient beings, and I think they're formulating some guidelines about how they should be treated, when whether for research or even for domestication, for sourcing honey from them. Can we move to the next slide? So my last is on spiders. Spiders are, again, a lot of people consider them as pests, and we try to clear our homes when the cobwebs are formed. But the truth is that of the 55,000 species, there are less than 0.5% that actually pose a threat to us humans. But a lot of people are scared of spiders, and arachnophobia is quite a common thing. But scientists believe that there is no real reason, like for us to fear spiders, but they believe that this is may have originated because spiders and scorpions are in the same family, and our ancient humans might have feared scorpions, and somewhere that fear has kind of transferred to spiders as well. So spiders, many of you may know this, that females, there's one species where the females are larger than the males. So the males have come up with, certain strategies for mating, so that they don't kind of, get eaten up or attacked by the females. So, for example, there's a giant orb weaver that approaches the female when, she's eating so that, she's distracted. There's an Asian hermit spider that can detach its sexual organs and run if it senses that it is in danger. And that the organ can deposit the sperm, and it can perform the task of mating even if the spider is not actually there. So all spiders produce silk, but not all weave webs. And spider silk is actually considered to be very, very strong. And back in, I think, 18th century, there was a French missionary who tried to he create a contraption where the spider was held captive in that, and they could uh, you know, get the silk from the spider's abdomen. And he even tried to create a factory, and they tried to use that silk to make garments, which was like very, very beautiful. But unfortunately, it could not be scaled up in the same way as silkworms are now being used to create for silk. So I guess that was kind of the end of it. But the web of the spiders has inspired a lot of architecture, and you can see the image there is of the Olympic Stadium in Germany, which was designed, inspired by the spider web. And there are many such again architectural um, buildings across the world. Spiders are also used in research, and there are studies being done on their venom, which it's all, I guess, the dosage that matters. And they found that the venom can, if used in the right dosage, they can be treated. They can be used in the treatment of stroke and cardiac problems, and they can also be used to alleviate pain. And of course, we know that spiders have a role to play in ecology. They prey on diseases. They prey on insects like mosquitoes that carry diseases, and they help in nutrient cycling. So, sorry, I think I have one more slide. Yes, mosquitoes. So, all of us, I'm sure we all try to kill mosquitoes when we see one. But out of the 3,500 species of mosquitoes, there are 404 in India, and there are only three genera that are actually the disease-carrying mosquitoes, which are Anopheles, Aedes, and Culex. These mosquitoes originated over 200 million years ago, and back then all mosquitoes were blood-sucking. But as flowering trees evolved, the males switched to feeding on nectar, and they stopped feeding on blood, and only the females now continue to suck blood because they need our blood to produce eggs. And the Aedes mosquitoes, yeah, they originated in the Sahara, and again, all these mosquitoes have spread through the trade route. The mosquitoes, they prefer human blood, and they are attracted to us by the carbon dioxide that we release, and also they can sense through certain odors. So scientists have studied that there are some people who are more attractive to mosquitoes based on their odor, um, and also they can sense our body heat through sensors. Males, yes, they release special hormones to attract the females, and some species have also known to harmonize their wing beats before they mate. Now, mosquito management is a huge, industry, and all over the world, we are trying to see how we can control mosquitoes to stop, the spread of diseases. In Brazil, they have developed actually this they are using what are called as Wolbachia mosquitoes, where these mosquitoes have been genetically modified. They have a bacteria introduced in them called Wolbachia. And when these mosquitoes, which are male mosquitoes, are released into the environment, they mate with the native female mosquitoes, but the eggs that are laid, they do not hatch. So then, that the uh, the mosquitoes are not able to, proliferate to the next generation. Um, but I want to end with, one quote which I think kind of captures the essence of all these species, and how we humans have tried to manage them. Where the author and professor of history, Urmi Engineer, she writes in her book Mosquitopia, The Place of Pests in a Healthy World. Since humans accidentally enabled the growth of mosquitoes, are they justified in their efforts to control these mosquitoes and even seek to eradicate them? And similarly, there was another biologist who wrote about the sparrow. He said that when sparrows are rare, we tend to like them, and when they are too many, we dislike them. But our fondness for sparrows is fickle and predictable. But this speaks more about us humans, and not about the sparrow. So that is a message I've tried to highlight in my book, that all of these species, no matter if they are pests, or they may carry certain diseases, but you know, are we do we have a moral right to eradicate them, or can we kind of come up with some kind of human ways to manage their populations in a way that is not harmful to them also, and of course we also have to be safe, and not have any diseases. So thank you so much, Sanjay, for inviting me again, and thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you, Deepa. You have taken us through your work. It's really, we look forward to, get copies of the book, Invisible Housemates. I have, in fact, started reading. It's very interesting. I strongly recommend that, our friends should also take these and read. And this is something that we know, it throws light on the urban wildlife that is present around us, and we should know more about it. So the floor is open for questions. Any questions? Yes, Bharat, please go ahead. You can use raise hand, unmute and ask, or you can type it in the chat box. Please go ahead, Bharat. Bharat Asuri, I see your hand raised. Would you like to ask? All right. Anyone else? So,
I just realized the
Yeah,
time. I hope I did.
sorry, you were saying?
yes, please
Yes.
go ahead, Arun.
Yeah,
Arun has just
this is a
ordered a book
topic that
online.
is,
Yeah,
oh
please
yeah,
go ahead.
this is a topic that's very close to me because I've been hopping, jumping around, running around in circles in schools and colleges about understanding urban ecology. So, is there something we could do in terms of interacting with children and students, whether it's school students or college students, to make them understand that they don't have to take one big camera and a jeep and go into jungles to understand ecology?
Yeah, I think there are some organizations, in Bangalore, who are doing these urban walks, and they are trying to, and not just children, but even people, to look at, the smaller insects and creatures like spiders that are there around us. But definitely, I think maybe some presentation in schools will also help to make them look at, what is in your house and around your house and in the garden, and, don't have to necessarily go to the jungle
Yeah,
to
instead
look
of
at,
going to even
yeah.
parks, we did something with DAV in Chennai where we told them to find out what trees, what insects, what rats, what birds are there on the street where they live and in the street in which their school is
Right.
located. It would be nice if you could formulate
Yes.
a small little project that we could give to kids. They, let's say, maintain a log like that, or just do one submission where we understand our immediate surroundings, that 2,000 square feet of our apartment and the road to our school and our school itself.
Right.
If we could do
Yeah,
something,
that's a
I'd be
great
glad to
idea.
help.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and maybe I'll connect with you and see how we can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Deepa, earlier I was
Yes,
not able to unmute myself, but now I'm able to. So,
yes.
I just wanted to know, do you think the pigeon population exploding in the cities has resulted in the decline of sparrows, crows, and even other birds? Because I see a kind of explosion of pigeon population and corresponding decline in all other birds, including crows.
Right. I'm not sure that pigeons directly might have impacted crows and sparrows. I don't think there's a direct correlation. The reason why pigeons have, you know, have proliferated is, there's again the origin of these pigeons were called as the rock pigeons, and they, lived and nested in big rocks and boulders. So they did not really, they did not require trees. So if you see most of the pigeons, right, you'll find them in ledges of buildings and apartments. So this, because it reminds them of that rock where, the ancient pigeon used to, brood. So that is why they have proliferated. Whereas sparrows and crows, on the other hand, they need, trees to lay their nests, and we have loss of trees because of development. So that is the real reason why pigeons have proliferated and why crows and sparrows have declined in population. I don't think the pigeons directly are impacting. I mean, I may be wrong, but I don't think that's the case.
I had another question. Would you say one can make a distinction between species that live inside the house and other species that we would find in an urban setting? Like, for example, like
Hmm.
cockroaches, lizards, even rats, if they get into the house, they tend to live inside the house. Whereas
Right.
monkeys, pigeons, snakes and all that you may find in an urban setting, but they don't actually come into the house.
Yes. Um, Yeah, so I mean that's why I say in and around their house. So some of them are in our house and some of them are outside, but some of them do also get inside. I mean, I've heard stories where monkeys have entered houses and snakes are also found inside houses. But yeah, the overall theme is that yeah, some of these are in our houses and some of them may be around, but in close proximity with human beings, and which we have kind of there is some interaction with these creatures, uh, with humans, and there's also kind of some a change in how we have interpreted them or how we have viewed them, over the years. So that was the basic idea.
Okay, thanks, Deepa.
Yeah, welcome.
Rashmi has shared a link to Amazon where you can order for this book. And yes, Arun has shared a link on natureclassrooms.org. Please do. No, I think
I've shared.
Rashmi has shared this for Arun, natureclassrooms.org. Arun, you can just take a look at it. So, any
Sure, thank
other, yeah, anyone else have any questions? Okay.
Sir, I just want to know the health hazards about the pigeons staying in our flats and things. Is it true or is it what is it actually? What precautions we need to take? That's I wanted to know.
Oh, it is very true. My aunt is in hospital right now in Delhi because of infection carried into her lungs through pigeon droppings.
Oops. Hmm.
Yeah. So you can, I think a lot of people are now putting, bird nets so that the pigeon doesn't, roost inside the building. Uh, because the pigeon droppings is what they have certain parasites that can
That's true.
affect the lungs.
But many of the people who feed in the roadside, which we have seen, especially even in the Bangalore, in Malleshwaram Circle, people feed in the morning. There are thousands of pigeon comes in the morning, and I don't know whether it is legal or illegal, or whether the government body has taken any steps to not to do such things and things like that. I don't know.
Some cities have done, Pune, I don't know if it is still thing, but Pune had actually banned the feeding of pigeons. I don't know if the ban is still on, but some cities are now trying to ban this feeding, because obviously the feeding is going to help, increase the population.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. It was very wonderful. I was just impressed about the crow intelligence. It is throwing the shell in the road and eating it. That was quite interesting. Very interesting subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes, I've noted your email, Arun.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, thank you, Deepa. It was really a great session. You spoke about the pigeons, the kind of towers that they used to build. Similar towers, I have seen them in Rajasthan. They used to, uh, I think they still do build in some parts of Rajasthan. I had seen it somewhere near Jawai. So I was really
Oh,
wondering why they are doing it. So they said some religious reason is what they said. Um, and really good, great to know this Darwin's reference to Kabutar Nama and different, I mean, 4,500 species of cockroaches being present is it's really a wonder. Of course, and I saw gray squirrels in England. I thought they were native, but you did mention that red was what was native. And save a red, eat a gray squirrel. I don't know whether that program is still on in England.
no,
Uh,
probably not. Yeah.
I think hardly there is any wildlife left there. But yeah, of course, London has got still have they have foxes in the city. Quite surprised to see foxes in London city. So it was really great. And you spoke about rats. And when we say, I think we are wrong when we say that we have rats in government offices when we see corruption being rampant. So I think we are wrong. We shouldn't be saying rats, no? Rats are very empathetic, is what I came to know. So it was really fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us this, talk, and we feel really enlightened to know, after knowing many things about the species that are around us, we see day to day, and we were not aware of what uh, importance it has, and now we feel uh, that we know much more about it, and we need to work towards its conservation. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
You
Sanjay,
all,
for
thanks for
inviting me. Yeah.
participating. Thank you.